This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Hello and welcome to War Horses, the only college equestrian podcast that could tell you if a rider's dad should be buying them dinner if they win their point this weekend. I'm your host, Auburn Elvis. Let's talk about some college equestrian. Well, the season is taking shape. It really seems like a lot of these home teams are winning their meets, no matter what the rankings is. So I just want to caution everybody, maybe don't go too crazy over these records right now. Just being at home is a huge advantage. We talked about that time and time again, and a lot of times that's just the difference. So, yeah, but let's see how much of a difference it made when we take a look at some meet recaps. All right, so first meet to look at TCU at UC Davis. Now, when I ran the stats on this, the stats predicted that TCU would win this 11-8. Let's see what really happened. In fences, UC Davis won that 3-2. On the flat, UC Davis won that 4-1. In horsemanship, TCU won 3-2, and in reining, UC Davis won 4-1. That makes the final score UC Davis 13, TCU 7. So we had a result that was about almost the exact opposite of what the stats predicted. There again, home team looked really good. Big win for Davis. They were ranked number 10 last week. They upset the number 6 team in my rankings. That's a big deal. But keep in mind, this was at home. If this had been over at TCU, the Horned Frogs probably would have won this. So, it kind of shows, though, that these two teams are close enough in ability that the venue and the horses really makes a difference. Again, that won't be the case once we get to the postseason, but for right now, that's just the way it's got to be. I will say that for TCU, you should not worry too much about this result. You know you're a good team. You've beaten some good teams at home. You just kind of need to score a few more when you go on the road, and you're going to get more chances to do that. Moving right along, let's look at our next meet, Texas A&M at South Carolina. Now, the stats thought that the score here was going to be South Carolina 11, Texas A&M 7. Let's see what really happened. In fences, South Carolina won that one 4-1. On the flat, South Carolina won that 4-1. In horsemanship, Texas A&M won that one 3-2, but then in reining, South Carolina won 4-1. So, if South Carolina was going to be getting points, it was going to be 4 of them. So, although they did get 2 in horsemanship. We should say if they were going to win an event, it was going to be 4-1. Yeah, that's a little bit smoother way to say that. Anyway, the final score, South Carolina 14, Texas A&M 6. Woo! Okay, so this was even more one-sided towards the home team than the stats predicted. Yeah, again, the home team rolls to victory. If this had been in College Station, the result probably would have been different, but this is where we are. That'll have to wait until the spring. Good job to the Gamecocks for getting this home win. It's a conference win, and that's what you got to do. You got to defend your home turf. And there have been plenty of years when South Carolina could not beat Texas A&M in South Carolina, but they did it this year. So there you go. So A&M, there's no shame in losing this one. It's a road meet in the SEC. They're all going to be tough, but you do need to kind of worry about the combined margin of victory because that's going to matter when we get to seeding for the SEC tournament. And you guys gave up 8 points in this margin in this loss, and that's going to be tough to overcome. Even when South Carolina comes to visit y'all, it's going to be tough to beat a team by 8 points. So yeah, you kind of want to keep that in mind. But right now, Texas A&M, you're now 4th in the SEC standings, and South Carolina is 1st, and Auburn and Georgia have yet to ride a conference meet yet. So, yeah, but everything will work itself out. It's just, you gave up a lot of points. Anyway, let's move along. Bridgewater at Lynchburg. So, let's see. The projected stats were that Lynchburg would win this one 6-3. Let's see what really happened. In fences, Lynchburg won that 3-2. On the flat, Lynchburg won that one 4-1. That made the final score Lynchburg 7, Bridgewater 3. The results were pretty close to what the stats predicted. Lynchburg did a little bit better than what the stats did, but it was at home again, so that's that opens the door for the home team to really do well. And the Hornets are just a steamroller right now, especially at home, and Bridgewater did well just to get 3 points, so good job to both of those teams. Next meet to look at, Sweetbriar at College of Charleston. Now, the projected score was Sweetbriar 5, College of Charleston 4. Now, again, home teams always do well. Let's see what really happened. In fences, College of Charleston won that one 4-1. On the flat, Sweetbriar won that one 3-2. Put those numbers together, that makes the final score Charleston 6, Sweetbriar 4. So we got a reverse here. Okay, the stats, evidently I didn't do a good enough job taking into account who was the home team, and there you go. But big win for Charleston. We knew that they're a good team. They're one of the top 4, and this confirms it. The fact that even a perennial power like Sweetbriar, when they come in, that you can get the points you need to get the win, that speaks well of Charleston. But again, no real shame on Sweetbriar here. Going on the road to Charleston, probably all the teams, even Lynchburg, probably would have taken a loss in this situation. So no shame on this. Road meets are just going to be tough. Now we're going back over to the dual discipline side. We're going to take a look at TCU at Fresno State. All right, so the Horned Frogs, they're out in California. They've ridden against UC Davis. Now they're going to go to Fresno State. The stats predicted that Fresno State would win this one 12-8. Let's see what really happened. In fences, TCU won that one 3-2. On the flat, the two teams tied at 2-2. In horsemanship, Fresno State won that one 3-2, and in reining, Fresno State won that one 3-1. That makes the final score: Fresno State 10, TCU 8. All right, pretty close to what the stats projected. In fact, this time, the stats over-projected how well the home team would do. So there you go. Good job by the Bulldogs. They got the home win. Once again, two fairly evenly matched teams, so the venue and the horses, that's probably responsible for swinging this meet one way or the other. So I wouldn't be too worried. TCU, even though this was the second loss in as many days, you're still a good team. You only gave up a 4-point margin of defeat. That's decent. You're going to have chances to overcome that when you play the rest of your schedule, your conference schedule. So I would not worry too much about that. Next, let's take a look at Berry College at Auburn. Now, the stats predicted that it was going to be Auburn 8, Berry College 2, and I seem to recall that I was even dubious of that. I thought like Auburn was going to win 9-1 or even 10-0. So let's see what really happened. On the flat, Auburn won 4-1, and then in fences after that, Auburn won 3-2. That made the final score Auburn 7, Berry 3. So, yeah, okay. The stats were pretty close. In fact, the stats were more accurate than my own equitation over feelings. So, good job. They evidently knew I'd predicted them to get 2 points, and they did better than that. So, they overperformed there. Maybe Auburn underperformed. But, hey, good job to the Vikings. Well, and they also had another meet the next day, Berry College at College of Charleston. So we just saw Sweetbriar go into Charleston and get a loss. What would happen with Berry? Well, the stats predicted that Charleston would win 7-2. Let's see what really happened. On the flat, College of Charleston won that one 4-1, and then over fences, College of Charleston won that one 3-2. So that made the final score 7-3 in favor of Charleston. So exact same score and exact same event scores that we saw against Auburn. Berry did the same thing. They didn't get the win, but they had some success. They got the points, and that's tough to do on the road, especially when you're going against a team as good as Auburn or Charleston. Good job to the Vikings. Well, those are all of our meets. Now let's take a look at the official Auburn Elvis College Equestrian Rankings. We're going to do the dual discipline rankings first, as we always do. So first off, our number 1 team is still Auburn. For the Tigers, they had that single discipline meet. That doesn't count in their stats. They're still 1-0, holding steady. They've had that one meet against Baylor. They're about to go on the road, but for right now, they're still number 1. Number 2 is Georgia. The Bulldogs sit at number 2. Basically, Texas A&M had that loss, so I'm going to slide them down, and Georgia moves up to number 2. Number 3 is South Carolina. The Gamecocks are 2-0. They've had some impressive home wins. Now they're going to have to go on the road. Number 4 is Texas A&M. They lost at South Carolina, but they're about to get a home meet against Auburn, and that's going to give them a chance to rebound. Number 5 is Fresno State. They're 2-0. They're undefeated at home. Now they're going to have to go on the road. Number 6 is TCU. Now, the Frogs are 2-2, but I'm going to keep them ahead of some winless teams that are below them, at least for now. And number 7 is Oklahoma State. Yeehaw! They're 1-1. I thought about moving them above TCU, but for right now, I'm going to keep them where they are. And again, as we get more meets, things will change. So don't worry, Cowgirls. You're 7 right now, but you're going to have opportunity to move up. The number 8 team is SMU. They are still winless because they had that road-heavy start, but they got Auburn coming to town, so they got the opportunity to make some changes fast. The number 9 team is UC Davis. They're 2-1 after 3 home meets, so yeah, I'm going to slide them up one spot. They had that big win over TCU, and that gets them up there at number 9. And number 10 is Delaware State. They're 1-1. I'm going to hold them up here in the top 10, and they're going to wait and ride again, I think, in November. So they're going to have the opportunity to see other teams kind of move around them, and we'll just see what happens with the Hornets. Now over we go to the single discipline teams. Number 1 is Lynchburg. The Hornets continue to roll. They are the obvious number 1 team in the nation right now. No controversy there. Number 2 is Sweetbriar. They're holding steady despite that tough road loss at Charleston, but again, anyone would have had a hard time with that. Number 3 is College of Charleston. They're going to move up after that big home win they had over Sweetbriar. Number 4 is Dartmouth. They have yet to ride. They're going to be opening their season soon, and we'll see how they stack up. Number 5 is Bridgewater. They lost at Lynchburg, but they performed well enough to stay at number 5. Number 6 is Swanee. They were idle this week, so I'm just going to keep them at number 6. Number 7 is Berry College. They look better than expected against Auburn, so I'm going to move them up, even though they did not get a win. And that means number 8 is Sacred Heart. They're still waiting to open their season, so they're going to slide down one spot to number 8. And number 9 is Centenary.
It's a twister! It's a twister!
The Cyclones are idle, but they're going to stay at number 9. But they're gaining lots of valuable experience. They're going on lots of meets, riding against anybody, so good job to them. Okay, so now we've told you about the past. We've told you about the present. Now let's peer into the future with some meet previews. So I think this is the part of the show that the fans really like. Who's going to win? Am I just going to be a complete homer and just pick Auburn to win everything no matter what? Well, let's see. First up, let's take a look at South Carolina at Georgia. In the predictions, let's see. The stats think that Georgia's going to win fences 3-2, that South Carolina will win the flat 3-2, horsemanship will go to Georgia 3-2, and reining would go to Georgia 3-2. Add all that up, and it thinks that Georgia will win this one 11-9. So the stats think it'll be kind of close. And, the stats really like South Carolina right now. Even though they're the road team, it thinks highly of them. And a lot of that is because Georgia just doesn't have a lot of experienced riders. We don't have a lot of data on them. And so when you don't have a lot of data, you can't really trust. If some girl's got 100, but she only rode one ride in her stats, and it's like, okay, how much stock can I put in that? Whereas if you've got some other girl who's ridden like 20 times and she's got like a 55%. I kind of trust that girl more than that one girl who's only ridden one time. So we're seeing some of that come into play in these early season evaluations whenever Georgia is involved. Also, TCU runs into this as well. Again, with this being at home, this is an opportunity for those young riders to really show us, and maybe this stretches out to a 6, 7, 8 point margin for Georgia. We'll see. Next up, Auburn at Texas A&M. The stats say that Auburn would win fences 3-2, that Auburn would also win flat 3-2, that horsemanship would go to Texas A&M 3-2, which is a bit of an eye-opener because Auburn is really good in horsemanship. The stats also think that Texas A&M would win reining 3-2. So if you add all that up, that would be a 10-10 tie, and I'll tell you that when you go into the differential, the individual fractional points, Texas A&M comes out just a little bit better than Auburn. So essentially the stats are telling us that it's going to be 10-10 and that Texas A&M is going to win in the tiebreaker. Not exactly what I would have expected, particularly that horsemanship score, but you never know. When you're on the road, some of these things, can get away from you. So we'll see how this goes on the road for Auburn. Our next meet to look at, Centenary at Sacred Heart. Okay, Sacred Heart, we're getting our first glimpse into their 2025-26 season. How's it going to go? Well, the stats say that Sacred Heart will win fences 3-2 and that they will also win the flat 3-2. That means the final score would be Sacred Heart 6, Centenary 4. Again, Centenary, they're going on the road. They're not afraid of anybody. Can they change their fate? Well, the stats don't think so. But, we don't know hardly anything about Sacred Heart. We know they've got some good returning riders, but how are their new riders going to compare? We don't know. And the Cyclones certainly have been gaining experience, so we'll just have to see. But for right now, the stats think it's going to be 6-4. Another meet to look at, UC Davis at Georgia. Now, the stats think that Georgia's going to win fences 3-2, that Georgia's going to win the flat 3-2, that Georgia is going to win horsemanship 3-2, and reigning Georgia's going to win this one, guess what? 3-2. If that all happened, that would mean that Georgia would win 12-8. The stats like UC Davis almost as much as they like South Carolina, but here again, we just don't have a lot of data on Georgia. So things are probably going to change throughout the season, and you're going to see Georgia favored more. And in a meet like this, they'd probably have an even higher favorability and a larger margin. But for right now, it's only 4 points, and we'll see if they do win, if that margin is 4 or maybe it's even larger. We'll see. Next, South Carolina versus UC Davis. Now, this is a neutral site because UC Davis is coming over to Georgia, so is South Carolina, so the two of them are going to ride over at Georgia. I think this is going to be 5-on-5. It could be 4-on-4, but we'll see. We're going to go as if it was 5-on-5. The stats think South Carolina is going to win fences 3-2, that South Carolina would also win flat 3-2, that South Carolina would win, they would win everything 3-2. I'll cut to the chase. That would mean South Carolina 12, UC Davis 8. So here again, UC Davis is on the tail end of a 3-2 score-rama. I mean, neutral site. So this one will be very interesting to see how it turns out because neither one of these teams presumably has the home horse advantage. The Gamecocks are stronger on paper, but UC Davis will have the opportunity to surprise some teams. So we'll see. And our final meet of the week is Centenary at Dartmouth. Again, we've got another team here that is going up against Centenary that has not ridden yet, Dartmouth. Now, they're the reigning national champions right now, so we know they're going to return some starters. We don't have any stats from this season to look at, but based on who they're returning, it looks to be a good day for the green. Fences is projected to go 4-1 for Dartmouth, and flat is projected to go 3-2 for the green. Add that up, and it would be a 7-3 victory for Dartmouth. So again, Centenary is kind of serving as the national benchmark for all the single discipline teams. And we'll see how this goes. But Dartmouth has been fielding a strong team these last couple of years, so we expect them to win this one. The real question is by how much. Now, before we go, I want to talk to you about something new that I'm going to try out this week, okay? Now, earlier this week, over the weekend, I got a text from a rider asking me if I was going to be posting the pre-meet matchups, the matchup graphics, because she always likes to see whether she's going to win her point or not or projected to win her point or not. Unfortunately, I did not have time to post it, and I feel real bad about that because, again, I've been doing it for so long, and I have not been real good about it so far this season. It's just, work and life and stuff like that. But I've been thinking, okay, nowadays, since I'm using AI to help me tabulate and predict the results, the only thing that is keeping me from posting these pre-meet favorites is really just knowing who the actual matchups are, which is admittedly a very important detail. But here's a cool thing that happened in some of my earlier work with AI. I was doing stuff with some of these projections, testing things out, and ChatGPT just said, hey, how would you like to see a scoring matrix of all these riders? And I said, yeah, I would love to see that thing you just talked about that I don't know what you're talking about. And what it did was it built me a table showing all of the 25 possible matchups, and it was color-coded based on who would likely win. So you could look and say, okay, if this rider over here met with that rider over there, here's who we think is going to win. And so what that does is I am now realizing that this sort of thing could help me release those pre-meet event matrix instead of doing the matchups on the day of the meet. I'll still probably do the matchups on some big meets, but for the ones that I'm not sure I'm going to be available to get the matchups out right after they get posted, I think this could be a good way for everybody to see, well, do the stats favor you if you end up riding against this rider over there? Now, I want to be clear, these are not for gambling purposes. Gosh, I hope nobody is wagering money on any of the stats and the favorites and the projections that I'm putting out, because, boy, that would be a very foolish use of your money. This is really more that if you're a rider and say you've got a dad who will say, hey, I see you're the underdog, but if you win your point today, I'll buy you dinner. But, maybe the dad also says, hey, you're favored to win on this point, so if you don't win it, you're going to buy my dinner. If it's something like that and the pre-meet projections help with that sort of thing, then yes, I want to make that possible. But, no actual gambling, please. But yeah, so by the time this podcast drops on Wednesday, I'm going to try to put out some event matrices ready for South Carolina at Georgia and Auburn at Texas A&M. So we'll try it out with those, and yeah, we'll see who's going to be buying whom dinner after that. Well, that's all for this show. I am your host, Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening, and war horses.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.